John, what do you need cable-wise? You good?
No, I'm good. I think I'm good. I mean, that's good. Need one more XLR if you can get me. Oh my God! Give me that!
Don't anybody walk near here!
September 11th, 2001 was able to strike three nerves within people, the first of which being the purest form of tragedy. The second being a feeling of unity.
I can hear you, the rest of the world hears you, and the people who knock these buildings down will hear all of us soon.
And the third only being struck within a very, very small percentage of people. That nerve was a sense of opportunity.
Nations, democracies don't go to war easily, and they usually debate and argue before they do. Sometimes they have to be bombed into going to war. I think the choice of Iraq is a good choice. It's the right choice.
Very shortly after the September 11th attacks, on October 7th, 2001, the United States invaded Afghanistan with airstrikes against al-Qaeda and Taliban targets during Operation Enduring Freedom. While that is an interesting topic by itself, it would certainly take its own video to fully dive into. If you would like to see that, let me know in the comment section down below. Today, we will be going over the invasion of Iraq. On March 20th, 2003, the United States conducted Operation Iraqi Freedom. The Bush administration justified the invasion with two key points. First being, the Iraqis supposedly helped facilitate the attacks of September 11th alongside Osama bin Laden and the terrorist organization known as al-Qaeda. Secondly, Iraq supposedly had access to weapons of mass destruction, or WMDs for short. When doing some further digging, you can see that Osama bin Laden and Saddam Hussein weren't exactly the best of friends like the Bush administration was trying to paint them as. Saddam Hussein ruled a secular socialist dictatorship in Iraq. When digging into his personal life, you can make out the idea pretty quickly that he was not a religious man by any stretch of the imagination. Saddam commonly suppressed and even feared Islamic radicals in his nation for the inability to control them. Whereas bin Laden was a completely different story. He was a devout follower of Sunni Islam. Bin Laden believed in a quote-unquote defensive jihad ideology. He was fully 100% committed to his interpretation of the Quran. When you lay it out like this, it's pretty clear that the narrative of Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden working together to facilitate the attacks of 9/11 because of their supposed shared religious ideology very quickly falls apart. So, where does this leave us with the weapons of mass destruction point? And where did the United States even receive this intelligence from? On September 12th, 2002, Benjamin Netanyahu testified to United States Congress.
If you take out Saddam's regime, I guarantee you that it will have enormous positive reverberations on the region, eliminating the nuclear threat from Iraq and begin a regime change there.
Where did this intelligence provided by Israel get the United States? 4,492 American servicemen and women were killed, 32,000 were wounded. The issue was never dealing with the Iraqi military. It took the United States only 268 days to capture Saddam Hussein in his hideout. In that time frame, they obliterated nearly 100% of Iraq's conventional military. Remember earlier when I said that Saddam Hussein held down Islamic radicals because if their presence grew enough, they would become uncontrollable? Well, let's just say after taking out Saddam Hussein, the maniacs were essentially in charge of running the asylum. Osama bin Laden's al-Qaeda forces were able to officially establish their presence in Iraq October of 2004. Abu Musab al-Zarqawi's al-Qaeda insurgent group would go on to bomb the UN headquarters and lead heavy attacks against US and allied forces in the region. The United States withdrew from Iraq December 15th of 2011. No weapons of mass destruction had been located. Absolutely zero. Upward estimates of 500,000 Iraqis were killed in the civil war that would take place. Following the war in Iraq, the United States would then go on to launch military operations against the nations of Syria and Libya. You might be asking yourself, who is this all for? Because it's certainly not benefiting the United States. It's not benefiting the people of these countries. Look at Iraq, Syria, and Libya now. It's even more dangerous and unstable than it was under the previous regimes in place. It seems as if someone needs Iraq and other nations like it to be destabilized. So the million-dollar question is, who's winning this and why? It's no secret that Israel wants to be the only superpower within the Middle East, and they are doing anything within their power to make it happen. After all, they do think that they are entitled to the region. They think it is meant for them because it is God's will. So what business does the United States have to do with this? Why are we so interconnected to something nowhere near our country? The Israeli lobby has a strong influence over United States politics. Not only do they have influence over us with something as simple as money, but they have influence in other much darker ways. One being blackmail. Israeli spy Jonathan Pollard was sentenced to life in prison for providing thousands of top-secret documents to the Israeli government. Bill Clinton faced pressures from Benjamin Netanyahu and American Jewish groups to let Pollard out of prison. Clinton had thought deeply about the idea of letting the man walk free. The only thing that stopped him was then CIA Director George Tenet threatening to resign. What happened when the Israelis didn't get their way?
I want you to listen to me. I'm going to say this again. I did not have sexual relations with that woman.
Highly trusted sources within government and former intelligence officers have claimed that the tapes of Monica Lewinsky and Bill Clinton together were obtained by Israeli intelligence. When they didn't get their way, the information came out. We can clearly see that the Israelis are willing to do anything to get what they want. Who's to say that they wouldn't withhold vital information of a terrorist plot coming to the way of their supposed greatest ally if it meant being able to get what they want? Saddam being out of power and Iraq being turned into hell on earth with no ability to be an outward threat only benefits one country, Israel. It is clear as day what's been happening for decades. These people don't care who they have to lobby, who they have to blackmail, or who they have to kill to achieve their goal. They know that they are not capable of fighting these wars that they want and surviving. They must rely on the strongest military on earth to do their dirty work. Sometimes it's as simple as buying out a congressional seat in Kentucky because a certain Thomas Massie isn't willing to play ball. Or maybe it can get much darker than that. We can look into something as widespread as the dancing Israelis theory. During the September 11th attacks, 5 Israeli nationals had been seen acting suspiciously and dancing in a celebratory manner after the towers fell. The men were detained at gunpoint and later deported. These same men were known to have been living within the same apartment building of multiple of the 9/11 hijackers months previously in California. Coincidence? Potentially. I tend not to think so. The possibility of something like that not being tied together is nearly impossible. What can we gather from all of this? First, we can see that something with 9/11 isn't right. Where the US government ends and the Israeli government begins is way too blurry to see. Simply put, both sides are clearly not telling the truth. Secondly, we can see that 25 years later, the same behavior is still happening. The United States is not benefiting from the war in Iran. Gas prices are up due to the Strait of Hormuz blockade, and multiple US servicemen and women have been severely wounded or killed, and there's even talks of a potential draft happening because the United States wants to initiate a ground invasion. So what's the end goal here? Netanyahu had been coming to the White House for 2 decades prior, claiming that Iran is nearly capable of building a nuclear weapon and that the United States must intervene. Every administration prior to Trump's second term has refused. In a 60 Minutes interview, Benjamin Netanyahu claimed that this war was a culmination of his life's work. So why was he finally able to achieve his goal? He's been claiming that Iran has nuclear capabilities for well over 2 decades. No prior administration was willing to take this intelligence seriously enough that they were willing to start a war over it. As Dave Smith said, Donald Trump actually did something that George W. Bush wasn't willing to do. So what makes this time different? Did the Israelis just talk a good game and convince Donald Trump that this was the right move? Was Netanyahu able to explain in an elegant manner that this would benefit the United States? Or was there something like blackmail involved? And if so, what did the Israelis specifically have on Donald Trump that would make them be able to get what they want.
There's a man in back of this place. He's the one who's doing it.